Welcome back, guys, to yet another World of Warcraft, the War Within video. Today, we are going to be talking about, well, jewel crafting, as you can see right in front of your eyes, and also based on the title and thumbnail. I don't know why I said it like that, but either way, we are here today to get a general overview of the profession itself, and then also talk a little bit about some potential specialization builds for the profession. But before we do get into it, make sure that you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and put all the notifications on, because that is great for the algorithm, and you will also be able to get notified for any future videos that you might be interested in watching for the War Within related content from me. But anyway, let's get straight into the video. So jewel crafting is very much in its name. You use jewels to craft, right? And you have a bunch of different options. As always, we have prospecting again, and we also have crushing, okay? So crushing and prospecting are here to stay. They serve different purposes for what kind of materials that you end up needing, right? Whether you need your crushed gemstones, or if you're prospecting, get your, precious gems in the process of taking ore and turning that into it. That's the gist of it, right? And you can use all the different kinds of materials for that, and the same thing goes for the gems that you can turn into dust. And you also have this magnificent jeweler setting, which is used for adding sockets on gear. You can see here that jewelry can have up to 2 sockets, which is very nice. This is going to be needed by pretty much everybody that takes the game at least somewhat seriously. And then we have basic reagents. Basic reagents, we have inverted prism. This is a material that's needed for, where is it? Did I pass it? These prisms. These are going to be somewhat of a daily cooldown for the different kinds of gems that exist. And you can basically make one of these. I'll show you on the sapphire one here. You can make one of these, and then they have a certain amount of cooldown, and then when you open it, it gives you gems, right? It just gave me 16. Obviously, the amount varies a lot, but you will be able to use 2 of the respective gem for whatever prism you're creating, 1 inverted prism and some crushed gemstones. And then obviously you need your inverted prism as well, so you take another 4 different kinds, a enchanting material, and also a nullstone, which is one of the rare materials from mining. So you do use quite a lot of materials to actually make one of these prisms, but they also give out more than they take in terms of total amount of materials. Whether or not these are going to be totally worth it is probably going to take a little bit, because the prices on these will vary depending on what they're used for, but just keep that in mind. We have gilded vials again. This is obviously something that's completely fine to create. It'll be used a lot for potions and things like that. The low versions, the low ranked versions, will still be able to be purchased from vendors, as it says here. So you'll most likely be making these and selling these easily, or at least for more profit at rank 2 and 3. But this is mostly from byproducts, right? From crushed gemstones and glittering glass, and then a little bit of amber. Then we also have, some of the other basic reagents here, some decorative lenses, marbled stone, and then engraved gem cutters. These are all materials that you somewhat need for some of the stuff. You can see here, engraved gem cutter, we need that right there. We need it right there as well. And then for some of the prisms, we need the inverted prisms, as I talked about before. And then for the jewelry, you can see here, we need some marbled stone. So you need a lot of these materials in crafting everything that's available in the profession. Now, we also have some embellishments, which are unique equipped. It's kind of like an optional reagent that you add onto a piece of crafted gear. We have 2 of those. Whether or not these are going to be super good is yet to be seen, because we don't have best in slot list, but just keep that in mind. We also have finishing reagents, which are added when you're crafting something to get a little bit more out of it. You can see here, when crafting, increases ingenuity by 225, and we also have this one that increases resourcefulness by 112, and reagents saved from resourcefulness by 9%. So keep those in mind as well. And then we have our regular, stat related gems, and some of them, obviously each one will give different stats. You have stamina and crit here, you have stamina and mastery, stamina and haste, stamina and verse, and that goes for all of the other ones as well. We have ambers, emeralds, onyxes, rubies, and sapphires of 5 different kinds. We also have blasphemite, which is for unique, like a unique equipped epic gems, and this time these are going to be BOE, which is very, very nice. So these are probably going to be very interesting to kind of get into. We talked about the prisms before. Then we have jewelry, and this goes for both rings but also necks. We have a couple different variants here, as you can see. We have some blue versions, and then we have some epic versions for crafted gear. We also have a lot of professional equipment. You'll be able to see that we are down here. There's a couple more. You have this cubic blasphemia, some more jewelry, and then we also have some PvP crafted stuff, bloodstones as they're called. This is like the blasphemite PvP version, and then some green versions of the gear as well. So, and another toy, and that's we have this one as well, beautification iris. So those are probably going to be all right to sell. They don't have a quality, so you can use whatever you want. But for professional equipment, as you can see here in Jewelcrafting, we actually have 8 different versions. Now, some of them are rare, as you can see, the blue ones, but we also have some green versions, and I think both are good, having some options to create both. Obviously, most people are going to want the blue rare versions, but that's the majority of what Jewelcrafting has to offer. You have a couple of options for, because of prospecting and crushing, once you put a lot of profession points, like knowledge points, into it, you have a lot of options to flip material or shuffle materials through these kinds of things. So just keep that in mind. We still have that system again. There's a lot of basic reagents that people are most likely going to be on the lookout for, and you can sell these. So whether you go for gem crafting, basic reagent crafting, or jewelry crafting, or profession gear craft, there's a lot of options, okay? But let's talk a little bit about the profession specializations. There are 3 of them, okay? We have gem cutting, we have jewelry crafting, and shaping. We're going to start with shaping. In here, you will be, as it says here, improving the practice of extracting jewel crafting reagents in a usable state and utilizing them in specialized crafts. So this is for prospecting and also crushing. So you'll see here that you have shaping as the general thing, and this will allow you to use some finishing reagents as well, give you more resourcefulness, multi-craft, and ingenuity. And then masonry is resourcefulness when you're crafting stone reagents, again. And then we have glasswork, which is also for the reagents, and you have gem finding. So the top line, if you go for those are more for the basic reagents, but if you go further down into gem finding, this is prospecting, okay? And also crushing, as you can see here. So this entire section is for crushing. And gem finding is the main one, and then you have emerald, onyx, ruby, and sapphire. Now, there's no amber, and that's because amber is a little bit different. It has some different uses when it comes to the profession, which is why I think they've decided to not have it in here. Either way, we have 4 different versions: emerald, onyx, ruby, and sapphire. And these will increase how good you are at prospecting these kinds of gems out of prospecting, right? And the same thing goes for if you want to crush one of them, you'll also be able to get more out of crushing it. You see here, 2% additional chance to find a stunning sapphire instead of an ambivalent amber when you're prospecting. And then you now have a chance to acquire stunning sapphire when you're prospecting iron claw ore. So it just increases your chances of getting that, right? They have the ambivalent amber, which is kind of like your baseline thing, but if you want to get more of a certain kind, that's what you're going to have to do. Now, which one you want to pick is kind of a little bit up in the air, because if you go through here and you look at what these give, you can see that the emeralds are going to give haste as the main thing, And then you have your ambers, which is stamina, so that's a little different, and then they're not in the profession tree. Then you have mastery, which are onyx, and then you have rubies, which are crit, and then you have versatility, which are sapphire. In most cases, haste is almost always the one that does the absolute best, but it also will have the most competition. And mastery is a pretty good bet too. But here's the thing, right? Just because you don't pick the one that's in the highest demand doesn't mean you won't make gold. If you do decide to go over and pick onyxes or whatever it is that you decide, you might have less competition and potentially make more profit than the people that are competing in the very, very tough market. So whichever one that you end up picking, if you do decide to go a prospecting route, is kind of up to you and the way that you plan on using jewel crafting. I would most likely, just for my own purposes, I would probably use mastery and haste because those are usually the good ones. So that would be emerald and it would be onyx, right? So those are the ones that I would be putting all my points into so I could get the materials that are needed for crafting those things. Now this is just for prospecting, right? So it's what you want out of the ore that you prospect. And if you want to go for the basic reagents, obviously you could go into glass work and masonry as well. But in most cases, I think it's going to be best just to go for the prospecting line. But again, it's two kind of separate things. These are not going to impact your prospecting because they are just for the materials, the basic reagents. Then we have jewelry crafting. And in here, you'll see that this will just increase the profession stats that you have for your jewelry design. It'll also let you use some of the finishing reagents that are available. And you can see here some ingenuity, some resourcefulness, more ingenuity, and then it reduces concentration cost. So this is just bettering overall how good you are at making jewelry. And each of these are designed for, one is for amulets for the necks, and then you have rings, which is obviously for rings, and then you have artisans accessories, which is for profession equipment. So you can make a decision here early on which one you want to put your energy into, whether it be your profession gear, whether it be rings, or whether it be amulets. Necks and rings are usually pretty good because it covers every single class out there. You don't have to pick, an armor class because you have access to everyone, right? In most cases, I would say rings are going to be the better one because there are 2 slots for rings, and for necks, there's only 1. Now, in Dragonflight, we had something like the Elemental Lariat, which was the best in slot for a lot of people, especially early on, and it was very hard to get and all that jazz. So anything could happen, but right now we don't have any recipes that seem to be like that, at least in how hard they are to get. So there's probably going to be a lot of competition in both markets. So, but there's still the option of putting all your energy into profession accessories, right? Into the gear crafting for professions. So again, it's this is if you want to go for the gear crafting and jewel crafting. And then we have gem cutting, which is probably one of the most full pages of talent points in the entire game. But as you can see, this is visually very easy to understand. You want to put your points, this is towards polishing. So if you're planning on creating gems, then this is where you want to go, right? So if you plan on creating the stat gems for all of these and cutting these gems, then this is where you want to go. And you have your emerald line, you have your onyx line, your ruby, and your sapphire. And each of these will make you better at making one of them. So you have your masterful, you have your quick, and you have your deadly. So this is just a kind of stat that you want to focus on, and it'll give you plus skill and reduces the concentration that you use, plus skill and reduces the concentration that you use. And this is the same for every single one. And again, this is just based on what stat that you want to focus on the most. And this is actually the same for literally every single one of them. There is no difference in any of these. They're just for the different gems, but they serve the same purpose. So again, this is completely up to you what you decide to do here, because it all depends on what gems do good, what the profit margins look like, and all of that. And early on, it could be like, this is a lot of points to put into one gem, right? If you plan on putting 60, 30, and then you still need to unlock all of that, then it probably, I mean, you're putting over 100 points into just one gem, right? So it's a pretty big decision. But these all serve different purposes, and they're all going to have different amounts of gold that you can make from them. So I'm not going to recommend just picking one without thinking. But in the past, for me, I like going for the ones that usually sell the fastest, even if the profit margins are lower. Just because the way that I usually make gold is I have a lot of time to sit and babysit markets. But if you don't have time to sit there and babysit markets and repost things over and over and over again, then you might want to pick some of the stats that move a little slower, like versatility could potentially. But that's like mostly everything that jewel crafting has to offer. Obviously, the rewards that you get out of the prisms, out of your prospecting, are, you know, very far. Like there's a lot of math into like how many points you want to put into each thing as you go along. But generally, I would just recommend, if you go into jewel crafting, then don't try and do multiple things at once. Not early on. You want to pick a lane and you want to stick to that lane. Unless you want to make a decision to completely steer the ship another way and go into something else. But trying to do multiple things, like say you want to be really good at making all of the gear, right? You want to make amulets, you want to make rings, and you want to make profession gear, and you go full into this one. And then you use all of, this is still a lot of points, right? You're still going to use 130 points in this particular tree, which is a lot of points to get early on. So I wouldn't go around just, okay, we're going to put 50 points into this, and then we're going to put 30 points into this tree, and then we're going to put 20 points into this. Just make a decision on the things that you want to focus on. Like, say, again, if you just want to focus on basic reagents and prospecting and crushing, then go for that. If you want to focus on being very, very good at crafting gear, then go for that. And then if you want to be really good at making certain kinds of gems, then go for that. And you always have the option of creating multiple characters that focus on different things, right? You could, in theory, have 4 different characters early on for jewel crafting, and then you could say, okay, well, one is sapphire, one is ruby, one is onyx, and one is emerald. You could do that, and then you could have a specific character just for prospecting, just to put it into perspective for you guys. But I hope that this made sense. I hope you have a better idea and a better understanding of what jewel crafting has to offer in the War Within. As always, if and only if you guys have any questions, make sure that you drop those down in the comments below the video. I would love to talk about it. I love talking about anything profession related and gold related, so drop it all down in the comments below. If you did make it all the way to this point in the video, type what are we typing? We're gonna cookie. I have a cookie right here. So yeah, type cookie down in the comments below if you made it this far into the video. But either way, I appreciate you guys for hanging out, chilling, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.